What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is Carter Scotland Allen here, and today we're taking a look at Hellbender, released in February of 2022. Let's not waste any more time and get right into this movie review. So Hellbender is a witchy horror film that is created by the Addams family. And no, not that one. I'm sure many other people have made that joke, but I thought I would join along. The film is made by John Addams and Toby Poser, as well as their daughter, Zelda Addams. They write and direct all of their films collaboratively. They also all act collectively, I believe, as editors, cinematographers, director of photographies, costume designers, music composers, and I believe, yes, producers. So a lot of roles for just three people, and let's talk about this film. A teen and her mother live simply in a home in the woods, spending their time making metal music. A chance encounter with a fellow teen causes her to uncover a connection between her family and witchcraft. Okay, so let's talk about the directing for this film. Overall, the three the family, I guess we'll say, the Addams family, they managed to really kill this film for such a low budget film. This film has a better direction than most big budget horror films today and is, for the most part, very well executed. They managed to maintain suspension in a way that I would expect from current big budget horror films. So just on that merit alone, I was really happy. The Addams family knows how to deliver a really fun ride with very, very unsettling visuals without going too over the top or going too grotesque, and as well as a overall pretty decent score. Now on to the cast and the characters for the film. Zelda Addams delivers a great performance as Izzy, our main character. She manages to capture the socially awkwardness that a teen would have given them being put in this type of situation and not having that socially aware, not being socially aware. And she played that really well and also kind of reminded me of Carrie. Toby Poser was great. She was the mother. She felt very, very imposing and creepy. I was rooting against her the whole entire film, which I think was the goal for her character, up until the monologue from Izzy to her mother about the wolf and the sheep, or the wolf and the lamb. That sequence alone, that piece of dialogue alone, if you have watched the film, you know that sequence is pretty dark. Just those words about the chattering or grinding down of the teeth, like that was, even though there's no visuals, it's just what Izzy is talking about isn't pleasant. And in that monologue alone, that sequence told me that Izzy had shifted the tables and that she was in control now. The two leads delivered great performances. The rest of the cast did great as well, although there were a few side characters that sometimes only a few of the lines that were delivered felt a little bit too over the top, or they felt like they were actors and not like they were the characters that they were supposed to be portraying. Now on to the story. Overall, I really enjoyed this story. It felt like a very calm down, grounded retelling of Carrie without being Carrie. It has its own lore with the Hellbender lore, which I absolutely really, really, really loved. I loved the whole mushroom and the blood. That sounds gross, but it did a good job at making it feel its own, and that's especially hard nowadays, given how many movies are released every year, every month, every day. And obviously, if you've seen this film, you know the reason I compare this film to Carrie is because, the mother is keeping her from using her powers, and that's kind of, what Carrie is, but it's for, two kind of different reasons. But it still gets somewhat of the same message across, and I enjoy both films, I'll say. But the fact that you can compare this to something like Carrie, which is so classic and has such a big following, I think is cool, and it still stands on its own, which is a hard thing to do, but also really, really cool that it did. I really loved the ending of this film because you know where Izzy is heading as a character, but you don't see what's happening because you don't need to. It's not important to the story. The story is over. You're trying to figure out what's happening to Izzy and where she's going to go. And at the end of the film, you know that. So you do get your conflict solved and your internal thought solved by the end of the film. So that is also very, very good job. Congrats to the filmmakers for making something that actually makes sense. Now onto the cinematography for the film. Overall, this was engaging through and through. The use of cool and warm color tones was fantastic. They contrast each other basically every scene. There's either something really, really bright and orange, or really, really white and cold, or just there's those two opposites, and they use them really well. You've got the really dark thickness of the blood, which looked gross every time that it was on screen, but also it looked good. Like, it visually looked like good blood, which, it's, you don't see that type of blood often. It was a thicker consistency, I guess I'll say, but it was fun to look at. This movie was really fun to look at. The visual effects as well, the actual I guess, computer generated imagery, if there was any. Well, I guess, yeah, there has to be. But the computer generated imagery, or the VFX in it, was really, really well done, and I would have liked to see this on a movie screen. That's really cool. It's really cool to say, and I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I took a chance. I'm glad I bought Shudder, so I'll be checking out a lot more films on Shudder. So if you guys have recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. But let's get on to the final thoughts. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to say I did like that the film felt like it was constantly moving, and that was due to the cinematography and the editing as a whole. You have basically no shot lasts longer than like 4 or 5 seconds. And after you move on from that shot, you don't go back to that framing unless you're in a conversation with two characters. And even then, it doesn't happen all of the time. This is a very unconventional style of cinematography and editing, but it works really, really well in building tension and keeping the viewers, myself, engaged. Okay, so now on to the final thoughts. Overall, I think you can tell I really enjoyed this film. It was a very fun watch. I don't think my girlfriend liked it. It was a little bit too dark for her and a little bit too boring, I think. But for me, I liked the fact that it was a slow burn, even though it was only an hour and 22 minutes. It felt constantly moving, even though it was kind of slowly building tension throughout. I mean, there's only 2 deaths on screen, and one of them doesn't really even happen. One of them is kind of like, you don't know what the real characters. I mean, I'm talking about when the girl's cut in half. So I don't know if she's really cut in half in a different room. That's what I took it as when you see her face covered in blood and she's in the dark room. She says she can't move. I'm assuming that means her legs were gone. So that was really dark. Yeah, it is dark. It's a dark film. But it doesn't go there all the time, and when it does, works in a way that doesn't feel like Saw, where you're just watching torture porn. But overall, I enjoyed this film. I don't think I'll be watching it again anytime soon. But hey, if you have Shudder, definitely go watch this. If you know somebody that has Shudder, ask them for their account. I would genuinely be like, hey, do you have Shudder so I can watch this movie, Hellbender? It's a fun movie. If you have it and you want to get some friends together and watch Hellbender, do it, because it's a fun time. It might be a movie that you get some beers, have a couple of drinks, whatever it may be. This film is a really fun watch. I think if you are a horror fan in any way, you should just check this film out. It's a really fun watch. I'm glad I checked it out. There's a reason it's on Shudder, because people that have Shudder are horror fans. It's only got 52 votes, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 98% right now. So you can tell that, after a couple weeks, 3 weeks of it being out, and it's already got 98%. I mean, people like it, and that's not because it's some Oscar winner. It's not the best movie ever, but it does what it wants to do in a very fun, stylistic way, and I can appreciate it for that. So that is it for this review of Hellbender. Stay tuned for more horror reviews. I absolutely love the horror genre. I'll be going through all of the classic horror films and reviewing them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Carter Scotland Allen, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.